Chapter 10. A Place to Stay. July 2001. Costa Mesa, California. The kitchen light was too bright for how late it already was. The neon reflected coldly off the white walls, and Cayde felt as though he'd stepped into an examination room rather than home. His guitar case still hung from his shoulder, the dull ache of the strings lingering in his fingers, and for a moment he felt that if he put the instrument down now, something inside him would break forever. His father sat at the table. Before him lay the letter, carefully smoothed out as if, beyond being an official document, it were evidence that life had only one correct path.
You received the notice. You have to reapply to the university.
The sentence didn't sound harsh. That was exactly what made it unavoidable. Cayde stepped quietly farther in. His shoes slid softly on the linoleum.
I know.
His father folded his hands on the table.
You got a 1-year deferral. A year to prove yourself. That time is up now.
Silence stretched between the words. The ticking of the wall clock filled the room.
The band is getting together,
Cayde said, already feeling how weak that sounded in this too-clean kitchen. His father gave a quiet laugh.
Getting together? That's not a future. That's stalling.
Cayde's jaw tightened. The smell of the tour bus, the heavy smoke in the clubs, the memory of the applause, all of it suddenly seemed impossibly distant.
If you don't go to university, you'll get a job,
his father continued.
A real job. And half your salary comes straight here, for rent, utilities, food. This isn't a hotel.
The statement sealed the space, like a verdict. Cayde didn't reply. He only nodded. Then he turned and walked out onto the street. The air was cool and dusty, and somewhere in the dark, a guitar was straining through a garage doorway. The door was half open. Inside, 4 guys played. Too loud, too fast, too badly. The drum beat collapsed. The guitars were out of tune, yet they still belted the chorus at full volume.
My board is my world!
One of them botched a chord. The others laughed and started again. Cayde stood on the sidewalk and suddenly saw everything with crystal clarity, as if he'd only been looking through fog until now. It wasn't the lack of success or the missing money that hurt. It was the thought that he'd have to give up this feeling. He turned back. When he re-entered the apartment, his mother was standing in the hallway, her eyes red.
Cayde, please don't do this.
He only shook his head slowly and walked past her toward his room. The posters on the wall seemed alien. He began packing in a rush. Clothes, notebooks, pedals. The guitar stayed for last. His mother leaned against the doorframe and cried. She said nothing more. His father remained in the middle of the living room, arms crossed, motionless, as if observing the execution of a necessary decision. Cayde slung his bag over one shoulder and then hoisted the guitar case. He paused in the doorway and looked back at them for a moment.
If I have to work just to have somewhere to live, I want to live with the people I get up for the same reason.
The door closed softly behind him. Outside the garage, they were still playing the song. Off-key and too loud, but with such stubborn faith that it held more future than any official letter. When Cayde walked in the door here, I immediately saw it wasn't a casual, popped by after rehearsal arrival. His shoulders were slumped, and he stared past us, as if he were still back in that kitchen where the light was too bright and the terms too explicit.
He simply dropped his bag on the floor. Not dramatically, just like someone who no longer wants to carry it. So, what happened? I finally asked, because nobody else wanted to break the strange, heavy silence. Cayde ran a hand through his hair and then laughed. No real humor in it. My dad says it's time to go back to university, or get a job, and pay to live at home. Nova let out a quiet hiss. That's rough. Yeah. Cayde nodded. So, maybe a dumb question, but can I crash here for a while? For a moment, I just stared at him. I honestly didn't get why he even asked. How many times had he already slept on our couch? How many times had he shown up with food when we didn't even have change? How many times had he slipped his share toward the bills without saying a word? Dude, you've lived here for 6 months already, I said at last. At most, it's just official now. Roxy laughed from the corner. Yeah, now you get paper proving it. The air felt a bit lighter, but Cayde still stood there as if he couldn't believe it. Nova then stood up. Wait. She disappeared into the inner room. I followed, knowing what she had in mind. We pulled the old mattress out from against the wall, the one we saved during a move. It wasn't pretty, but it was intact, and more importantly, it was ours. We carried it back into the living room and set it in the corner that we already used, in turn, as a rehearsal space, a living room, and a bedroom. Behold, the luxury suite, I said, spreading a battered sheet over the mattress tossed in the corner. Cayde managed a tired, grateful smile. Meanwhile, Roxy leaned toward Nova, an impish sparkle in her eye. Hey, if I don't climb on you, can I sleep in your bed? I don't want to miss out on this family vibe. Nova laughed, but I could tell she wasn't entirely joking. We all felt this was more than just a mattress. It was a decision, a way of life. You're staying too, don't worry, I told Roxy. At this point, everyone who matters lives here. And somehow that's how it was. From then on, we really shared the place. No big announcement, no rule book, just more and more toothbrushes in the bathroom and more shoes by the door. We barely saw Cayde's father, but his mother sometimes showed up with a bag of sandwiches, fresh t-shirts, and that quiet worry you can't pack. Roxy's parents popped in regularly too, bringing her care packages and eyeing the living room as if checking we hadn't completely fallen off the rails. Nova and I weren't used to house visits like that. At my home, there was always too little money. Help came in the form of silence. Still, after payday, an unexpected parent would turn up with a box of groceries, just to make sure we were alive, not addicted or anything worse. But the truth was that, for the first time, we felt free. There were no deadlines set by someone else, no conditions we had to meet. There was only us, the raucous rehearsals, the scrunched-together mattresses, the dawn-light laughter, and that stubborn belief that if we have to pay for life, at least we'll pay together.